Homeowners in the UK, if you're anything like me and how I've been watching the news, it has been a pretty nail-biting time. Currently, at the time of filming, I think the base rate is set at 4.25%, and literally just a year ago it was 0.75%. So there has been a huge spike in this base rate. And for homeowners with mortgages, for us, that basically means anytime that we are going to remortgage now in the near future, we are going to face much higher interest rates on our mortgages. Now, I really wanted to make this video because I'm sure there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in the UK who are concerned about this. And not that this video will reach all those people, but for any of those it can reach, I just wanted to share some things that we're doing to kind of prepare for it. It is ultimately out of our control. We cannot control what mortgage interest rates will be, but there are certain things that we can do to try and prepare for it. And so yeah, I wanted to share in today's video what we're personally doing to try and prepare for it, and hopefully just share a bit of hope in this area, and some tips that may help people on this journey. So one thing I wanted to do as well is check how many people would roughly be affected right now, right here and right now in the UK. So according to Uswitch, ONS have reported that almost 6 in 10 of UK mortgages, and I think it's specific to fixed rate mortgages, will be up for renewal in this year, in 2023. So for us personally, we are set to remortgage in Q1 of 2024. So we do still have a bit of time, but at the same time, I am not necessarily convinced that interest rates will change very much from what they are currently. They may go down a bit, but I'm kind of just seeing what it is right now as what it will likely be by the time we need to remortgage. So with that in mind, the first thing that we wanted to do was just to know our numbers and know where we stand. So what we did is just used some online mortgage calculators and had a look to see what our monthly mortgage repayments would be with these new interest rates. So there are loads of online calculators, and I'll link some down below in the description, that you can just use, put in your information relevant to your house so that you can have an idea of what you will be dealing with. And this was just so important for us to have a realistic view, not shy away from it, not avoid the inevitable. We're gonna have to renew our mortgage. And one thing I personally don't like, especially when it comes to personal finances, is to be blindsided. So I try to do whatever I can to be prepared, to forecast in any way that I can. However, I know that life can be unpredictable. Things can come up that you just couldn't imagine or you can't prepare for. However, in this situation, I feel like you can try to prepare for it somewhat. So that was the first thing that we did, and the first thing that I think anyone needs to do, whether you are having to renew in Q3 of this year, Q4, Q1 of 2024, Q2 of 2024, whatever, in the next 2 years or so, if you have to renew your mortgage, use an online calculator and have an idea of what those payments would be. And then after we figured that out, the second step was to actually work a budget. I wanted to know what proportion of our income will now go towards bills. I wanted to know how this will impact our savings and investments and everything else, right? It's a knock-on effect. The reality is, if you're going to be paying more towards your mortgage, there's going to be less room in your budget for other things. And so we just needed to have a look to see what that would look like, work a budget, and to kind of, from now, mentally prepare for what that would be for us. And in that preparation just comes a level of peace, I think, that is really important when it comes to planning your finances and budgeting. The third thing that we're doing is overpaying our mortgage. Now, this is one that is tricky because, well, it's not tricky, but because our mortgage interest rate was so low, basically 2%, our strategy was to invest basically any extra money we had, invest it, as opposed to overpay our mortgage, because we generally know that the stock market, on average, obviously you can't predict, but on average, it returns way more than 2% per year. So for us, it was like, okay, that's a no-brainer. We just invest it. However, with interest rates being the way that they are right now, and the stock market also being the way that it is right now, there is not so much of that push or that drive right now to invest everything as opposed to investing some and overpaying some. Or for some people, they just decide to not invest and they're just overpaying their mortgage. And I think in this environment, in what's going on right now, it does make a lot of sense. And I think this is a really key thing about personal finance. You can have a plan, you can think things are going to go one way, but you need to pivot when things change, because the world around us is constantly changing. Our personal circumstances are constantly changing, and it's okay to change your strategy. So for us, overpaying our mortgage just a little bit every month is something that is making us feel a bit more comfortable with how things are right now. And for those people who may be on the cusp of a different loan to value bracket, this is invaluable. So for instance, if you are at, when you remortgage, you think you're going to be at a 71% loan to value, but if you can overpay, you can get that to 68% of a loan to value, you may see a difference in interest rates. You may have a better interest rate. You may not, but you may. So have a look, look at those, have a look at those calculators online to see if overpaying your mortgage could get you over to a different loan to value bracket. And if it does, if it has an impact on the interest rate, then it really may make quite a bit of sense to work on overpaying your mortgage. So for us, that is something that we are now doing. The other thing that I did at the tail end of last year was reach out to our mortgage advisor. And that was because this was at the beginning of these conversations about the base rate going up and therefore mortgage interest rates going up. And I honestly panicked a little bit. I panicked and thought, okay, what do we do? Do we now remortgage earlier before these interest rates just get ridiculous? So I reached out to the mortgage advisor to say, hey, do you think we should remortgage early to try and get a different interest rate now and lock in for 5 years or 10 years? Or do we just wait? And his advice to us was to wait, because of the early repayment charges that we had, and because hopefully by the time we remortgage in Q1 of 2024, things may have cooled down just a little bit. So that was his advice to us, and I'm glad that we waited. I'm glad that we didn't. I think anytime that you try and do things in a panic, majority of the time things don't end well. That's what I've found in my life personally. If I do things in a panic or a hurry or a bit of a craze, it never seems to give this as good of an outcome as if things are kind of done thoughtfully and planned and not so much in a rush. So I'm glad that was his advice, and I'm glad that's what we decided to go with. But yeah, speaking to a mortgage advisor, if you have a mortgage advisor or a mortgage broker, I think it's really good to kind of get their opinion, get their thoughts, because they're the experts. They know everything that's going on in this situation, and sometimes they can just help bring a calm to what seems like a really stormy world right now. So if you don't have a mortgage advisor or mortgage broker and you want the contact of mine, then let me know. I will happily provide that information to you. And last but not least, this one may not be relevant to a lot of people. It really is situational. But if you are thinking of some kind of home upgrade, like a renovation, and this was something you already planned to do, you already have the budget for, then it may not be a bad time to do it. Only in that, if you renovate your home in a way that adds value to your home, then that's only going to work in your favor when it comes to remortgage, because it's going to bring down your loan to value amount because you would have increased the value of your home. So for us, for instance, we completed an extension. This time last year, actually, was when we finished our extension. And this has had definitely a huge impact on the value of our home. So it majorly will help us when we go to remortgage, because we'll be in a completely different loan to value bracket than we were when we last on our remortgage. So that has definitely worked in our favour. But you know, again, it just depends on what you're doing, because there are certain things, certain upgrades you may do to your home that you've poured money into, but actually it doesn't add value to your home. So when they come to price up or value your home when you go to do the remortgage, whatever you've done in the house may not have an impact on what they value your house at. So it depends, it's situational, but I thought I would share that just because it's something that we've done and it is something that will hugely impact the value of our home. But those are the main things that we're doing and have done, and I'm now in a place where I feel quite peaceful about it, quite prepared for what's to come next year, at the beginning of next year. So let me know in the comments down below if there's anything that you are doing to kind of help mitigate this situation. And if you are somebody who's never remortgaged before and you have no idea what the process entails, then I do have a whole video on remortgaging. So just after we remortgaged a year ago now, I think, over a year ago, just after we had done that, I made a video of what the process was, because I actually had no bloody clue what you needed to do to remortgage. In fact, I was completely blindsided and I had no idea that you had to do as much as we needed to do. It's something that I just feel like no one ever told me about. So I created a video for those of you who may be in that situation. You kind of just want to know what the remortgage process looks like, and I will say it's a bit more than what I anticipated, so you can check that video out if you're looking for more information. But yeah, I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope it's also given you just a bit of hope if you are a bit panicky. Speak to an advisor. That's like the key message, actually. I probably should have put that as the first point, but speak to a mortgage broker, speak to a mortgage advisor, because I think, yeah, their expertise is just invaluable at this time. So yeah, thank you so much for watching today's video. We'll get through this. I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the next video real soon. Thanks for watching.